And this is me, trying to cram 2 features and doing bug fixing in a day. And for tomorrow, I will be testing these features I push into staging, then do some more bug fixing to make sure that there are no critical bugs that get to production. You might be thinking, oh, it's going to be alright, you have a team, you'll be collaborating and splitting the work, right? Yeah, the thing is, I was alone at that time and working as a senior developer, the QA, and my own graphic designer. Why is that? Because software development is very undermanned. According to this article, it says in 2030 there will be more software engineers, estimated to be around 45 million. In this other article, it says the increase in demand for software engineers is around 22%, with only 3% of unemployment rate. You might be thinking, yay, there will be more jobs than developers, right? This means higher salaries, better benefits, and understaffed workplace. We experience being understaffed now, and it will be that way in the future, leading to developer burnout. Not only that, there are a lot of technologies in software development being used by many companies like Go, Java, Rust, C#, C, Python, JavaScript, and many more. Because companies will build their software on these different technologies because it is what caters to their needs, thus increasing the demand for developers even further. Let me give you an analogy. This cup here represents all the developers that are in the world, while these mugs here and that one bowl there represents the companies that uses different programmers. So let's say these are all the developers in the world, right? And this one needs someone who knows Go, so we'll put some of that there. And then this one needs someone who is good at C and C#, while this company on the green here needs developers who are good in JavaScript. So let's pour that. Yeah, so that's all of it. While this one doesn't have any programmers in there because it already ran out. The population of developers was thinned out because of the different skill sets that needed. Anyway, what this means is that this company here would increase the salaries of COBOL developers, but then not everyone on these different companies want to go and learn COBOL. That's one reason that we are understaffed as developers. But what does this all have to do with quiet quitting? All of the things that I've said is just to boost your self-esteem and to let you know that being a developer makes you very valuable. And that quiet quitting is not something you should be worried about because you are valuable as a developer. Also, it is a way to avoid burnout. But let's rename that term quiet quitting for now. Let's rename it to respecting your work-life balance instead of trying to deliver on punishing deadlines so you can have more time with your family, friends, and hobbies, ultimately having a more fulfilling life. But let's use quiet quitting for now because that is quite a mouthful. Know your worth as a developer. I also believe that companies will have more productive developers if these companies don't push their devs to the brink of burnout. This way, it's a win-win for both software engineers and companies. One way to avoid burnout, not just by quiet quitting, is to avoid companies that micromanages their employees.
Micromanagement. Boom. Yes.
One sign to look out for is by the use of time trackers. In my experience way back in 2019, I had a team of developers and the company we were working for wanted to micromanage us by using a time tracker. If you don't know what a time tracker is, it is an app that tracks your mouse movement and keyboard strokes. It gets worse. If you stop moving your mouse or stop typing in your keyboard, the timer will stop. The timer, well, it times your work hours and it will lessen the official work hours you rendered. See the problem now? It gets worse. It takes screenshots at random times to check on you if you're actually doing work. Here's an example. So let's say that this is your beautiful desktop and you stop typing or stop moving your mouse. This is the time where it will notify you to go back to work and lessen the time you officially work. So if it lessens the time you work, then it means that you are gonna get paid less also. Because of this type of management style, all of us, including me, left and look for other opportunities. This type of management style leads to massive burnouts to developers, since a developer's work is not measured by the hours or time they spent in front of the computer, but rather on the impact that their work has made. I suggest you look out for companies that uses this management style and time trackers and avoid them at all costs. Or if you're already in one, I suggest you look for other opportunities. So what do you say when they suggest you use a time tracker?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Some companies love to please their clients. By doing so, they overpromise a lot. A client may say, "Hey, can you do this feature by next week?" Then one of your managers will just storm in the door and say, "We can do it in 3 days." And then they all have a huge party.
Meanwhile,
You as the dev will be on your computer cramming, doing overtime, letting these deadlines suck the life out of you. So how do you avoid these companies? For me, I think the best is to ask these questions during the interview session. Number 1, who are the people involved in deciding deadlines? A good answer would be the manager, the product owners, and the developers. Because if you are involved in the planning as a developer, it means that you also have the influence to help set realistic deadlines based on your technical knowledge at the project at hand. If you are aware of agile methodologies and sprint plannings and all of these project management methodologies, you should ask what type of method they're using in planning and executing the project. This way you'll have an idea if they're organized and they're not just cutting corners and just calling themselves agile even though they're not. Also, if you can meet the members of the team and you can talk to them, you could at least ask some questions on how the company operate and if they're happy with the overall work conditions that they are in. Or maybe you could try your luck and look for their employees in LinkedIn and just talk to them and get to know their status and how they work, and maybe that's the way you could decide if the company is a culture fit for you. So to recap, a developer is valuable, quiet quitting is a way to avoid burnout, do not join or avoid companies that micromanages their employees, and lastly, do not join teams that gives out unreasonable deadlines. That's the way to avoid being burnt out. That's it for now. I hope you learned something, and yeah, I'll appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. It shows my big nose into other people's homepage. And if you hung around here for quite some time, yeah, consider subscribing. Thank you. Have you noticed that most people who are mad at quiet quitting as a concept are the people who are millionaires and who owns these mega corporations? Just a thought, an observation.